Today we are going to discuss on the topic the Trusteeship Council. To introduce the topic, the Trusteeship Council is among the most important organs of the United Nations. It was established to supervise the government of trust territories and to gradually lead them to self-government and independence. The Council originally consisted of states administering trust territories, permanent members of the Security Council that did not administer trust territories, and other members elected by the General Assembly. The history of the Trusteeship Council goes back to the international supervision of colonial territories, which was initiated in 1919 by US President Woodrow Wilson at the Paris Peace Conference, which gave birth to the League of Nations. The concept of trust territories under the Trusteeship Council can be compared with the mandate system of the League of Nations. Quite similar to the mandate system, the trusteeship system was established on the ground that colonial territories taken from countries defeated in war should not be forcibly taken over or annexed by the victorious powers, but should be administered by a trust country under international supervision until their future status was determined. In contrast to the mandate system, the trusteeship system invited petitions from trust territories on their independence and required periodic international monitoring missions. In 1945, only 12 League of Nations mandates remained, which included Nauru, New Guinea, Rwanda, Burundi, Togoland and Cameroon, the Pacific Islands, Western Samoa, Southwest Africa, Tanganyika, and Palestine. All these mandates became trust territories except Southwest Africa, now called as Namibia, which South Africa refused to enter into the trusteeship system. The Trusteeship Council since then began to function as an important agency to supervise the administration of trust territories until they achieve self-determination. In setting up an international trusteeship system, the UN Charter assigns the Council with a main task of supervising the administration of trust territories placed under the trusteeship system. The main objectives of the system included promoting the advancement of inhabitants of trust territories and their progressive development towards self-government and independence. To talk about the genesis and legality, in 1945, under Chapter 12 of the Charter, the United Nations established the International Trusteeship System for supervision of trust territories. The ultimate idea and philosophy of trusteeship system allowed a temporal arrangement for continuing dependency system of many territories, whereas it also emphasized protection of political freedom, self-governance, and human rights in the long run. For instance, according to the Article 76, Clause A to C, objectives of the trusteeship system are laid down in accordance with the main objectives of the United Nations to further international peace and security. The Article 76, Clause C is particularly significant in terms of its commitment to human rights. It reads, I quote, "To encourage respect for human rights and for fundamental freedoms for all without distinction as to race, sex, language, or religion, and to encourage recognition of the interdependence of the peoples of the world." Unquote. Under the Article 77 of the Charter, the trusteeship system applied to, number 1, territories held under mandates established by the League of Nations after the First World War. Second, territories detached from enemy states as a result of the Second World War. Third, territories voluntarily placed under the system by states responsible for their administration. The basic objective of the system was to promote the political, economic and social advancement of the territories and their development towards self-government and self-determination. Let us now talk about legal sanctity of the Trusteeship Council. The guidelines on composition, power and function of the Trusteeship Council are laid down in the Chapter 13 of the UN Charter. The Council is made up of the 5 permanent members of the Security Council that includes China, France, Russia, United Kingdom and United States. The aims of the trusteeship system would be considered to have been fulfilled once all the trust territories have attained self-government or independence. The status of self-government or independence would either mean to become a separate state or by joining neighboring independent countries. Various sections of UN Charter specify structural and functional parameters of the Trusteeship Council. According to the Article 86, Clause 1, the Trusteeship Council shall consist of the following members of the United Nations. A. Those members administering trust territories. B. Such of those members mentioned by name in Article 23 as are not administering trust territories. Regarding the representation members, according to the Article 86, Clause 2, each member of the Trusteeship Council shall designate one specially qualified person to represent it therein. The Article 87 is equally important as it deals with the powers and functions of the trusteeship. The trusteeship enjoys the power to consider administrative reports. The Article 87C provides the Council the power to conduct periodic visits to the respective trust territories at times agreed upon with the administering authority. Under the Article 88, the Trusteeship Council shall formulate a questionnaire on the political, economic, social and educational advancement of the inhabitants of each trust territory and the administering authority for each trust territory within the competence of the General Assembly. Decision-making processes in the Trusteeship Council are carried out as per the Article 89. The trusteeship enjoys crucial legal empowerment to work with other important organs of the UN. The Article 91 makes the Trusteeship Council avail itself to the assistance of the ECOSOC and of the specialized agencies. Let us now discuss about the interventions of Trusteeship Council. The UN Charter originally established the Trusteeship Council as the main organ of the UN and entrusted it with the administration of territories placed under the trusteeship system, meaning those territories that were not self-governing. As already noted above, the trusteeship system replaced the mandates of the League of Nations. Under the Chapter 12 and 13 of the UN Charter, the trusteeship system was intended to promote the welfare of the native inhabitants and to finally advance them towards their right to self-determination. Historically speaking, the trust territories were carved out of former mandate territories of the League of Nations. However, there had been some exceptional cases with regard to the experience of Southwest Africa, which remained under mandate until it achieved independence as Namibia in 1990. On the other hand, some dependent territories, also known as colonies, remained outside the trusteeship system but came under the jurisdiction of Chapter 11 of the Charter of the United Nations, obligating members responsible for dependencies to promote the welfare of their inhabitants. In the deliverance of trusteeship system, the supervision of the Trusteeship Council has been extremely important while ensuring commendable contributions from the General Assembly and Security Council. Unlike territories under mandate, trusteeship territories could be fortified. The powers of the administering state included several privileges such as full legislative, administrative, and judicial authority, and in certain cases the right to treat the territory as if it were part of the administering state. The intervention process of the Council required submitting of a detailed questionnaire concerning each territory to the responsible state governing that governs them, with special emphasis on measures taken to increase self-governance and provisions on educational opportunities. The Council acts upon the petitions from inhabitants of the concerned territories. The Council met at least once a year, and its functional deliverances were done through a simple process of democratic voting system. The history of mandate and trust territories achieving their much desired political autonomy and independence goes back to the early days of the United Nations. It was in the year 1949 the General Assembly, by virtue of the League of Nations mandate over Palestine, declared Jerusalem a trust territory under the administration of the whole United Nations. However, the United Nations faced stiff opposition from Israel and Jordan, which were the two occupying states, which resulted in the deferring of UN's wish to make Jerusalem a trust territory. In about 50 years of Trusteeship Council's active existence, it experienced both ups and downs. It has helped in the fuller independence of erstwhile trust territories. In between 1945 to 1999, the following territories have been subject to United Nations trusteeship agreements or were listed by the General Assembly as non-self-governing. The administering states that enjoyed trust power were Australia, Belgium, Denmark, France, Italy, Netherlands, New Zealand, Portugal, South Africa, Spain, United Kingdom, and United States. The gradual evaporation of trusteeship system began to unfold one after another. For example, Italian Somaliland joined British Somaliland, finally becoming Somalia in 1960. British Togoland joined Ghana in 1956, and French Togoland became Togo in 1960. French Cameroons became Cameroon in 1960, joined by the Southern British Cameroons in 1961. And the Northern British Cameroons joined Nigeria in 1961. Tanganyika, now part of Tanzania, gained its independence in 1961, and Rwanda, Urundi became the states of Rwanda and Burundi in 1962. Similarly, Nauru became independent in 1968, and New Guinea joined with Papua to become Papua New Guinea in 1975. In the subsequent years, the trust territory of the Pacific Islands became independent one after another. For example, the trust territory of the Pacific Islands, also known as Palau, administered by the United States, came to an end after it chose self-government in 1993 plebiscite. Palau became independent in 1994, joining the United Nations as its 185th member state. To conclude the discussion, there is no doubt that the Trusteeship Council has been one of the key organs of the UN that dealt with human rights and freedoms of several political entities that more or less desired for independence. In other words, the Council is so significant for having contributed so much in the world's quest for better and proper decolonization of hitherto occupied territories. It is equally important to note that the trusteeship system was brought to an end through diplomacy and democratization of the rights of non-self-governing territories. According to a resolution adopted on 25 May 1994, the Council amended its rules of procedure to drop the obligation to meet annually and agreed to meet as occasion required by its decision or the decision of its president or at the request of a majority of its members or the General Assembly or the Security Council. Today, we have traveled to such a stage of trusteeship's existential time as its operation was suspended on 1st November 1994 with the independence of Palau, the last remaining United Nations trust territory, on 1st October 1994. Today, all trust territories have either become independent states or have voluntarily associated themselves with a state. With no territories left in its agenda, the trusteeship system had completed its historic task. With its task having been completed in 1994, the Council decided to suspend its work and meet only when needed. The question of emerging new nation-states have remained an ongoing subject matter rather than a closed chapter in the world's politics. The emergence of East Timor, South Sudan, and several other ongoing people's struggles demanding independence and freedom are strong cases in point. It seems that the Trusteeship Council's role could be brought back in securing a peaceful world while resolving political conflicts over creation and emergence of new states even today. Therefore, there could possibly come a time when the world might have to seriously ponder over rejuvenation of the Trusteeship Council in a new way to address several political conflicts that elude the world from its peaceful destiny.